Good morning, friends. Happy Monday. This is another good week for thriving through collaboration. I am Skyla Mann, and I'm a diamond from Central Iowa, and I am super excited to welcome my dear friend, Aimee Carlson, who is one of our phenomenal leaders on our team. And she bounces back and forth between Iowa and Arizona and blesses people wherever she goes. That's really the end of the story. Aimee has a lot of knowledge about a lot of different things. And Aimee is evidence that it doesn't matter when you connect through Young Living. It doesn't matter who's been in longer or the newest member. Every single person on this team, including all of you, has an area of expertise, and probably several of them, that you can bring to the table. And so I am a huge fan of learning from whoever I can, whenever I can. And Aimee is one of these people. Aimee, I hope that you'll share a little bit about your story pre-Young Living, even if you want to, because I think that kind of fits in with what we're talking about. But Aimee, she brings a wealth of knowledge and has truly been a great mentor in the entrepreneurial sense, even for me, because she's done a lot. And so that's why I am excited for you guys to hear from her this morning. And I am going to mute everybody. So Aimee, will you just make sure that you are unmuted as you come on? All right, so Aimee Carlson, thank you for joining us this morning. And go ahead and take it away.
I'm excited to be here, Skyla. Thanks for asking me to share this. Anytime I get an opportunity to teach, that's my superpower. That's what I just enjoy doing. And I encourage all of you to look into your hearts and figure out what it is that really shines a light on what you do and what lights you up, what fires you up, what makes a difference not only in your life, but everybody's life around you. As Skyla alluded to, everybody's got a superpower within them. And I choose to call that my gift from God. I choose to call it, that's what He created me for. That was my purpose. And I believe 100% it's teaching in whatever capacity it is. So a little bit about my story is that I was an entrepreneur for better than 30 years. I owned and operated Jiffy Lube, Quick Lube service centers in Iowa. We had 5 service centers. And I grew up, kind of a woman in a man's world. Yes, I am trained to work on cars. I can still get out there and do all of that. And so life was a little bit different for me, not only because I was a woman in a man's industry, but also because at the time when I started, it was my father's company. So I was the owner's child. So I had even more to prove. I had more to fight through in order to establish credibility, to establish trust, to establish all that I needed within the facilities, because everybody working for me were men, every single one of them. So it was a different environment. From there, I got into network marketing. Love, let me tell you, and that's a whole nother topic, but going from brick and mortar businesses to network marketing, I was in brick and mortar corporate world for better than 30 plus years. And I can tell you the personal development that occurred over the last 6 years for me has been exponential, has overwhelmed my life and changed my life. From getting into network marketing, I've started my own podcast. I've written a book. I am starting to become a speaker. So life is going in many different, directions. And I share this with you because you can understand how important time blocking is. When I was in Jiffy Lubes, we had a business coach that I hired. I felt like in order for me to steer the ship, I needed to understand what it was I was doing, how I was communicating with my people. And honestly, I thought that's what this business coaching was going to be all about. Little did I know he was going to turn our world upside down with this whole time blocking concept. What? I felt like in the corporate world, I felt like I was always putting fires out. You had, 5 locations. I had, a team of over 50 employees. I had 3 administrative people, and it was always somebody coming to me with something. There was never a time where I could just sit unabated and try to get work done. And I think as leaders in Young Living, we could probably relate to that. We want to sit down to a project and we've got the text messaging going off, the instant messaging going off. Everybody needs us. And of course, we've got a servant's heart and we want to answer that call and we want to be there for them. And before we know it, it's the end of the day. And we're like, what did we get accomplished today? Oh my word. So if you can relate to that and you can understand that feeling, today is for you, because we all have the same 24 hours in a day. No one gets anything different. Skyla, do you get more hours than I do? No one does. So when we set out on a road trip, we have a map, we have a destination. Well, most of us do have a destination of where we're going and how we're going to get there. Our days need to be the same way, because if we don't take control of our hours, the hours are going to take control of us. And if you want to keep doing what you're doing and get the same results that you've been having, then by all means, jump off this call right now. But if you're ready to step into doing something different and getting a different result, then I'm going to break it down really easy for you today. I'm not going to overwhelm you. And trust me, I've worked this block scheduling now for 10 years, and it's morphed. It's changed. Today looks much different than it did, before, and I'll share that as we get in. But I'm going to talk to you about why we need block scheduling, and I just kind of did in sharing my story. I'm going to talk to you about what block scheduling is, and I'm just going to give you some very easy steps. Not too much information here. We're just going to get you started and how you can do that. Does that sound good? Yay! And put your questions down. I'm not going to see them. Skyla's in charge of that. And I will come back and answer those at the end of the call or even afterwards. So I'm excited to get going. So many of us are really familiar with to-do list. So to-do list tells us what we need to do. Block scheduling is going to tell us when we're going to get it done. The scientists have found that we need to kind of block in our mind. Have you ever found yourself preparing for a class? Let's just let's get into Young Living terms here. So we've got to get prepared for a class. And before we know it, we've spent 2 hours getting everything together, getting our notes together, reaching out to people, whatever that may look like. The thing is that a specific task is going to take as much time as we allow it to do. So when I talk about bookending a task, scientists find we're way more productive. In fact, 80% more productive when we bookend our time. So don't just give a start time to start something. We've got to bookend it and give it end time. And trust me, you will start adapting to being able to do that. If you're going to give a task 20 minutes, you will get that task done in 20 minutes. Otherwise, it's going to take you hours. All right. Our work expands to fill the time for completion. By scheduling every minute of our day, we guard against the distractions. One of the biggest things that is a distraction is this thing right here, our cell phone. When I was in the Jiffy Lubes, I had to train my management team. When you go into the store, this stays in the car. This does not go in with you, because this is a big distractor. This is called putting out fires, guys. And we don't want to be operating where we're putting out fires. We're not going to get ahead. We're not going to do the things that we need to do in order to fill our souls if we're always responding to this. Okay. And I'll share with you how I controlled that and how it made night and day difference, not only for my time right now, but for my time in the corporate world. And my management team, once they got into it, it was incredible. And there's ways, I'm telling you, that you can go in and monitor your screen time, tell where you're spending your time at. I, as the owner of the business, had the cell phone bills, so I could see, where their time was being spent. And once we implemented the time blocking, how that changed for them and how much more productive they were in the workspace. All right, so time blocking. I kind of alluded to it in terms of we are going to schedule out truly every minute of the day. You're going to determine, well, let me get into the steps. One thing I do want to talk to you about with time blocking, many of you might be sitting there going, this is going to take a lot of work, for me to go through this whole time blocking effort. I don't have the same schedule every day. How is this possibly going to work for me? I don't have a clue how much time it should be taking me to get a particular task done. Or I work in a workplace where flexibility is important, and I have to have some of that flexibility. I'm going to answer those questions for you, okay? So time blocking, first of all, what we want to determine, I'm going to walk you through the steps here. Again, time blocking, we're scheduling out every minute from the moment we wake up until the moment we go to sleep. And if it seems overwhelming for you right now, pay attention. And I'm probably talking really fast. Skyla, tell me if I need to slow down. But here's how it goes. Before you even determine the hours in the day, I want you to determine what's important to you. So you need to figure out your high-level priorities, all right? I'm just going to give you some examples for me in my day, all right? When I was in corporate world, I knew I needed to be up. I had to be in the office at a particular time and out of the office at a particular time, all right? So that is right there. If you work outside the home, that's where your number one priority is. Your job is outside the home. You've got to put that down as the time. Are you working 8 to 4, 8 to 6, 8 to, whatever that looks like for you, boom, that's on the schedule. All right. Next thing you want to go to, and then in high level priorities too, let's take this to a young living world, right? You need time to make your follow-up calls. What's that going to look like for you? Right now, we just want to put that the follow-up calls need to be made. All right, you need time to be reaching out to new prospects. So put that down, time for reaching out to prospects. Just don't worry about the time, worry about the task that needs to be done to begin with. Do you participate in any groups? Put those down. Do you, you want to have time for your family, right? Family is important. This is why we do what we do, because we want to have our time for family. So put down family time. You need to have time for yourself. We don't forget about you. So mark down, your personal time as well. Time for friends. Everybody's thing looks different, okay? And I'm going to share my schedule with you, but I want high-level priorities right now. These are the things that need to be done. Now you're going to create a bookend. So you've gone through and you've listed out, and I'm not talking individual tasks. I need to have time for my job. I need to have time for my family. I need to have time for the volunteer groups that I'm in. I need to have time for my personal development. All right. If that is your 5 things, then that's listed down. Now you need to book in your time. Okay. If I know I work an 8-hour day, and I also need to have, I'm going to be in Young Living Talk right now. I also know I need to have time to connect with people and build relationships and do courses, whatever that's going to look like, right? And I need to have family time, and I need to have personal development time. Maybe I know that I'm going to have 12 hours in a day that are going to be dedicated to work and personal time. So then I can start determining how much time, what time I need to wake up and what time I need to go to bed. Does that make sense to you guys? Am I explaining that well enough? So do I need an hour to connect with people? Do I need an hour to reach out to new relationships? Do I need, an hour for my social media time? Do I need an hour for following up with emails and messages? We have to schedule that time as well too. So you need to determine what it is that you're going to have to do, the high-level priorities. And remember, in Young Living, what is it, Skyla, do we go by the 80-20 rule? In Young Living, so 80% of your time needs to be spent on developing relationships. it needs to be spent on the income producing activities. 20% is on those administrative, tedious to-do tasks, right? 80% of your time is spent on that. So remember that when you are putting together your schedule. Anyway, so you need to book in your day. So for me, I wake up at 6 a.m. every day and I go to bed at 10 p.m. every day. I keep that schedule Monday through Sunday. It's every single day. I don't vary it at all. And I am able to do all the tasks that I need to do. The other thing when we're determining our high-level priorities is we are also determining what's important to us people. What you deem as important is what you are going to get done. Are there things that you are doing that are taking time away from you? All right. Years ago, I had to determine, do I want to be watching TV or do I want to be building a business? What is more important to me? You decide. And maybe it's both. I don't know what it's going to look like for you, but you've got to decide what's important to you and what you're willing to give up in order to do the things that you need to do. And maybe it's a sacrifice that you give up for a short period of time. You know, there's a whole nother class that we can talk about with, you know, deciding, you know, what's a sacrifice, what absolutely must get done. All right. So we've decided our high-level priorities, building relationships. If we have an outside work job, what those hours are going to be, you know, what that's going to look like, family time, personal time. Now we have to set aside time for shallow tasks. All right. Shallow tasks to me are email, social media, instant messaging, you know, all those things that we can let suck up our time. So shallow tasks are those kinds of things. Shallow tasks might be love mail, might be, you know, putting together a new course, might be researching to find information out about a product. It's that 20%, you know, is considered a shallow task. And I want to use your, you know, Young Living terms if that makes sense to people. So you have to set aside time for those shallow tasks as well. Then once we determine what is a shallow task, it's, and again, let me see if I have something here. With your personal priorities taken care of, it's time to take the same approach with your workday. For most people, the appeal of time blocking is setting aside long stretches of time for focused work. Start each day with an hour of meaningful work, followed by some simple tasks before time with family and getting caught up. Also, when you're doing your work task, and when I show you my calendar, we're going to get into more of this. You need to find out before you do this, when are you most productive? Are you most productive in the morning? Are you most productive in the afternoon? Are you most productive in the evening? And maybe not by design, but I'm talking about your body, listening to your body and determining, when am I most creative? When am I most on focus, have my energy? What time of day is that? And we're all different. We're all different. And when you determine that, if you work in an environment where you can put your high-level priorities in that time frame, I encourage you to do that. Get them focused. So for me, it's morning. My mornings are blocked out until lunchtime with high-level priority items, always, because that is when I am most creative. That's when I have my most energy. And then the afternoons are filled with my, you know, shallow projects to do. Does that make sense? Okay. Then once you do, you know, your high level, low level priority items, you're giving them kind of time blocks in here. You can start filling that in. And maybe when you're first developing this, you might not set your wake up and go to sleep yet. You might want to just start filling in these tasks. And when you say, where am I filling these in at? I just opened up my numbers or Microsoft Excel spreadsheet and just started filling in tasks and creating it right there in that. There are tons of apps that you can use too, and I'll let you guys do the research on that. I can't use an app because of the scheduling I have, and I'll show you that when I get to my schedule. But you just start putting it out on paper, get it in black and white in front of you so that you can start making sense of it. And remember, it's not perfect to start with. And what you start with might look very different tomorrow and might look different next week and next month and next year. I have to do different schedules for when I'm in Iowa versus when I'm down in Arizona. I have to do different schedules for, it's always different for me. Each week can be different. And I'm going to show you how to schedule that out. A couple of tips. Well, let me just show you my block scheduling, because I want it, and I'm not going to be able to share my screen here. So I pulled it up on my iPad. Maybe. Bear with me, guys. Okay, so I've got my light on, so I'm not sure if but can you see the colors? That's most important. So I just push the button. The big thing I want you guys to see is the colors. And I don't know if I can get that close enough where you can see I go in half-hour increments on the side there, and then I block off. What I want you guys to pay attention to is, see the reoccurring lines of blue? The reoccurring lines of blue are times for me set aside each and every day to be checking messages. Because if I'm trying to build relationships, I need to be on top of responding to messages. But only in those half-hour times am I looking at my email, am I looking at social media, all right? Only during those times. In fact, and I'm going to just put that up there again so you guys can see. So there's 3 times throughout the day. And if you know me and have been around me, you know that notifications on my phone and devices are turned off. I don't even have them turned on, because I'm not even going to be disrupted with that, period. That was one of the first big lessons we learned from our business coach, was turning notifications off. Trust me, they're going to be there when you go to the actual site. Your notifications are going to be there. You just don't need to be alerted by it every single moment something dings. It's not important, to you. Block your time. That in and of itself is going to save you hours every single day where you are intentional. And I only give 30 minutes, and I have a team of 200 with Young Living, and I do my podcast, and I have experts I'm speaking to, and I'm on summits. So it's more than sufficient time. If you have a team of thousands like Skyla does, maybe that needs to be an hour. You have to adjust it to what works for you, all right? So you can see I've also got my time in here, and you can't see. Let me turn my light down if that helps. Does that help? And I don't know. Anyway, you got the idea of the time. What I want you guys to see, trying to get that turned, and I'm sorry. It's not working, is it? Oh, there. Anyway, you could see where it almost looks like white areas in the afternoon. The afternoons for me have a ton of flex time. All right. In your schedule, it is super, super important to hit buffers in your schedule. So you need to give yourself flex time, because we all know things happen, life happens. There's stuff that comes up that's unexpected, as an emergency, whatever. You have to have flex time in your day. Maybe that flex time is an hour, maybe it's 2 hours, where if I didn't get to this project, I can move it over to here. If I had something disrupt me, I can put it in here. Maybe it's just, it's downtime. I got to everything I needed to do. So now it's downtime, and I can love on my family more. I can love on people more, whatever that's going to look like for you. So in the morning, I have time for my prayer and journaling. Super important. That's the first thing I do when I get up. Then it's my hour time where I get ready. So it's my time where I shower, I get ready, it's my day. Then I go for the 30 minutes to emails and social media and messaging, make sure that that's all handled. And then from 8:30 to 11:30, it's all about projects. And listen, that's all I put in here is projects, because every week for me, it's different. My recording schedule is different each week. My everything is different, but I know that this time is blocked out for projects and high level tasks and interviews. And that's my time to do that. So that's my high level task time. And that's where the to-do list comes in, is each night at the end of the day, I get it out of my head onto paper. These are the things I need to take care of during my high level time in the morning. Okay. So I know that needs to be done. I'm writing a book right now. So when I get off this call, I'm going into editing. So I know that's high level for me right now, and that's going to get done. Every day might look a little bit different. I block out, this is my high level time. Okay. Then I give another half hour before lunch from 11:30 to 12 to again go back to my messages. I have an hour for lunch where I go eat my lunch, hang out with my husband, just have an easy time. And then on Mondays and Wednesdays, I take 3 hours specifically to Young Living, nothing else but Young Living projects. So whether that's reaching out to people, not reaching out, and then from 4 o'clock on, it's free time. That's my time for family. That's my time for building relationships outside, meeting for coffees, meeting for dinners. That's the time I can schedule for that. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I also block in from 6 to 8 o'clock. For me, it's because I know my husband is gone on those evenings. And so I take advantage of the time that he's gone, and I again block out my Young Living specific time. Okay. Then from 9 to 9:30, I go back to my messages one more time. And then, from 8:30 to 9, I go back to my messages for another 30 minutes. Then from 9 to 10 is my personal development time to quiet down. I'm usually reading, listening to a podcast, watching a video, something like that. It's my unwind time and time to go to bed. But I wanted to show my schedule, and I know that wasn't optimal here, and I don't have a color printer, so that's why I wanted to show it on the screen. Again, was just block the time for high level, low level, and you're going to use your to-do list to fill in what you need to do. All right. Now, I have to do it this way because I have a calendar that links in for people to schedule their interview times and for me to schedule my interview times. And if I use a calendar app and I block in these times, it shows me unavailable. So I can't, my calendars coincide with each other, and so I can't do this. So I put it out, I print it, I have this out in paper. There are apps that you can use, and I want to talk to you about a couple of them that you can use for monitoring your time. So there's one called Hour Stack. You can check that out. It's really super good for figuring out how much time is taking for you to get a task done. Tick Premium also does that too, where it monitors your time so that you guys can, you can start with an app to figure out what your time is taking for you. Also, Rescue Time does the same thing. If you have an iPhone, there's a new feature, well, it's not so new anymore, called Screen Time, where you can really start figuring out where you're spending your time when your phone is open and working. So those are some things to use. The other thing I would encourage you to do when you are block scheduling your time is there are all kinds of methods for your time. Like I have 3 and 4 hour blocks of time, mostly 3 hour blocks. And within that, I am never going to work more than 50 minutes solid in one stretch ever. Sometimes just 25 minutes at a time, especially like when I'm writing, which sounds like that would be, against it. But when I write for 25 minutes, I set the timer, walk away for 5 minutes, then I can come back. It really actually helps you keep focused and on task. So don't ever have anything lasting more than 55 minutes and take a 5-minute break. Walk, get up, move, and come back. Does that make sense? I threw a lot at you guys, but I showed mine because I want to show how you can really simplify it down to, these are my hours for high level. These are my hours for low level, you know, call it what you will. But when I'm most focused and most energized, this is what I'm going to be doing. And then the flex time. Super, super important to have the flex time so that when life happens, you're not thrown off. You're not like, and I'm a huge red personality. So when you try to really block me in, I'm going to rebel big time. So I know that about myself, and I got to give myself lots of freedom within my time blocking to be able to adjust and move around and do the things that I need to do.
Aimee, holy cow.
I know it was a lot, and I was trying to keep it simple. Sorry, not sorry.
You did. And for me, as the blue personality, I am so just convicted and reminded that even seeing the colors, that literally trips something in my brain. So
good.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. You guys put these tips to work and seriously let them change your life.
It will.